My father came out first from London before the First World War broke out. And then my mother and my two brothers and myself, we followed on. We moved to Sydney in the posh part in Palmer Street. And my mother nearly had she was disgusted because at that time the prostitutes used to sit on their steps. She'd never make out why the girls were sitting on the steps until somebody enlightened her, you know. They said, well, they're looking for business. And then my father got very sick and they sent him to Bathurst, a hospital in Bathurst, because he had chest trouble. And we lived in Coogee. And then from Coogee we moved to Bondi, you know, and then up here. The climate in Sydney was no good for his chest. He had bronchial trouble. A lot of Jewish families lived in New Farm, moved to New Farm, like the Jackses and the Goldmans. My mother and father sort of got in with the crowd, and a lot of the Southsiders, like the Shinskys and the Leboffs, and they used to play solo in those days. You know.
How did New Farm get its nickname?
Jew Farm, because such a lot of families there are living there in New Farm, so they called it Jew Farm. But we didn't take offence. Didn't worry me. Didn't worry anybody. Sometimes somebody'd say, "Oh, are you Jewish? I didn't know you were Jewish." "Oh, you know." I said, "Really? Just the same as you or anybody else." "Oh." I said, "What do you expect me to look like?" We used to have this man used to kill the chooks in the Jewish way, and I had to go to the valley, to this granary shed there, and the women all used to go there with their chooks, and he'd kill them, see, for the kosher killing. And they had to wrap the blooming thing up and bring it home and pluck it and clean it in the old days. If I didn't have a chicken at home, I used to buy one from him, a live one, and he'd catch it for me. And the shoykert, they call them, and he used to cook the roast, and away we'd go home and pluck our chooks. Well, we had the scouts going, and then we'd go for picnics and go out on, you know, days out with the scouts. Cloudland started not long after we came up here, and we used to go up to Cloudland. You know, all the young Jewish crowd. Like, in those days it was Jess and Sam and Ruth and her husband, Ruth, what's her name, Jess's sister, Magnus's, all that crowd.
So there'd be dances there every week?
Oh yeah, every week we used to be up there.
Do you think it is such a different life now than then?
Oh well, it's more free and easy now. People, I mean, ideas have changed, style has changed, you know. But, I mean, life up here was pretty good. We came up here really on account of my father, otherwise we'd have still been in Sydney.